Hi, I'm Mark, and I like to talk about UK politics and Brexit from an outside view, although I do know the UK from the inside as well. Even after the elections, the United Kingdom is unlikely to seek to return to the EU. But what if this attitude were to change? Germany and Great Britain are seeking close contacts immediately after the new Labour government took office. British Foreign Minister David Lammy visited Germany on Saturday, the first country after his appointment. This new government in the United Kingdom has formulated its priorities very clearly. We want a new start, a reset of our relations with Europe, is what Lammy said in a Reuters TV interview. Chancellor Olaf Scholz congratulated the new Prime Minister Keir Starmer, and Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock wrote after her meeting with Lammy on platform X that the kingdom was a close partner and friend. Great Britain has a very large and important trade relations with Germany, said the British Foreign Secretary. And the new Labour government also wants a reorientation of British policy on climate change and a new start with the emerging powers of the world. All of these are issues in which Germany has played a pioneering role, and that means that there can be an important partnership between the United Kingdom and Germany, stressed the Labour politician. That is why he first visited Berlin immediately after his appointment. In addition to Baerbock, Lammy also met with Chancellor Olaf Scholz. Well, now the British have voted, we all know that, and after 14 years of Conservative Tory governments, the opposition Labour Party won the parliamentary elections by a landslide. It can hold 412 of the 650 seats in the House of Commons, around twice as many as before. And even before the polls opened on Thursday morning, Labour leader Keir Starmer was considered the winner. Experts say that Labour was able to benefit above all from voters' frustration with the Conservative government. But what will change in Great Britain now? And there are a lot of questions about the new Starmer era. Well, there will not be much change for the time being, at least according to Mark Garnett, the political analyst at Lancaster University. And that despite the fact that Labour leader always presented himself as the big changer during the election campaign. The country has had a turbulent time, as the expert stresses. Over the last few years, the Tory party has shown that it's not capable of governing this country, and Starmer wants to appear more competent with Labour. I believe that his main goal will be to bring calm and stability, Garnett says. The economy does not currently allow the new Prime Minister to strive for major and dramatic changes. That's why Garnett says he will probably leave ambitious goals until his second term in office. Nevertheless, the issue of healthcare, migration, and the economic situation will probably dominate his next few years. It is well known that Starmer was clearly against Brexit, and in 2019 his party said that it would support a second referendum. After the election defeat at the time, Labour avoided the issue and has done so in recent weeks as well. Starmer has hardly commented on the issue. On Wednesday, however, there was some clarity. The Labour leader told the media that he did not believe that Great Britain would rejoin the EU, the single market, or the customs union in his lifetime. The Guardian then spoke of Starmer's most decisive promise during his election campaign. And Garnett is also certain that Starmer will respect the Brexit decision and the British majority. Nevertheless, he believes that in the long term, the new Prime Minister will strive for rapprochement and an agreement that is similar to Switzerland's bilateral agreements. He can want that, but it will not work. The EU doesn't even want the Swiss ones anymore. The Labour leader had already made his position clear on the Rwanda plan in the spring. We will cancel the plan, which means no flights and no Rwanda plan, is what Keir Starmer told the BBC in early May. He didn't want to waste his time on plans that have already failed. Instead, he plans to use the money saved to hire special investigators. They will take action against traffickers who send migrants across the English Channel in those small boats. Shortly before the elections, experts stressed that the Conservatives were only interested in damage limitation. According to the polls, the Tories' decline was foreseeable. The Tory party already achieved a poor result in the local elections in May, and there are many reasons for their decline. Among other things, numerous scandals and affairs, especially under former Prime Minister Boris Johnson, have destroyed people's trust in the party. And added to this is economic stagnation. The fact that the Labour's party victory is not quite as triumphant as the seat gain suggests can also be seen in individual regions. Keir Starmer himself lost 17% of the vote compared to 2019, and the voter turnout in his constituency was miserable. Not exactly impressive for a prospective prime minister. In addition, the Labour leader lost two leading comrades to whom he had actually wanted to give a position in the shadow cabinet. It was Tangam Debonair. She lost her seat in Bristol to the Greens, and Jonathan Ashworth lost to a pro-Palestinian candidate. And former party leader Jeremy Corbyn won as an independent in the formerly safe Labour seat of Islington North. But what does all this mean? Well, firstly, the fractures in the two-party system will deepen. On the fringes, both left and right movements are on the rise that are competing with the established parties. And secondly, it's clear that Labour's victory is on a shaky ground. As political scientist and election expert James Kanagasurian writes, Labour's victory resembles a political sandcastle. It will not take much for the electoral triumph to collapse. Support for the party is razor thin, and that could soon become a problem. It's difficult to look into the future of the party, but it is conceivable that the Conservatives as we know them today will no longer exist at the next election in 5 years' time, at least according to Garnett. And the reason for this is that the positions within the party are drifting further and further apart and are hardly compatible with each other anymore. That is why Garnett believes that the two new parties could emerge from the Tories. The far right wing could form a party, and then the centre-right politicians would also regroup. And the future on right now, Labour Prime Minister will not reopen the trade and cooperation agreement as well, but he wants to address the concerns of 70% of people in the UK who say that Brexit has made their lives worse. For negotiations with the EU, Starmer has already drawn his red lines. He does not want to join the customs union or the single market, which would be close to impossible anyway, or restore free movement. But doors could be opened for new agreements, for example, on veterinary standards and youth mobility, which could be an improvement for both sides, at least according to Charles Grant, the director of the Centre for European Reform. He said that in an interview with Euronews. Keir Starmer has already said he wants to revise health regulations to reduce border controls for food, plants and animals, which should help farmers and food importers, for example, as the analyst says. And the youth mobility program, and despite what some people say, the European Commission already had that proposal finished, and the Council already put a I don't know what you say, a ribbon on it, but the British declined it before it even was proposed, but it was there. And in the long term, a youth mobility program is planned as long as it is not presented as a free movement through the back door, says Grant, adding that the same reasoning could apply to consultants and artists. And a recent report by the Centre for European Reform also lists other areas where increased cooperation with the EU is possible, such as climate action, energy policy and financial services, although financial services will be hard to do with the EU. It should be noted that British scientists and researchers have regained access to the EU's Horizon funding program already. And another important area of cooperation that could be strengthened in the light of the war in Ukraine and the deterioration of relations with Russia is security and defense. The Labour Party leader has spoken out in favor of a pact to promote foreign and defense policy cooperation with the EU. Currently, the British have no relations with the EU in these areas, unlike the EU's relations with Norway and even the US and Canada. Creating some kind of structure where the British attend meetings of foreign ministers, heads of government and senior officials to talk about common challenges such as Ukraine is very desirable, says the director of the Studies Centre. And that is something that is possible. But something that will not happen, and I cannot stress that often enough, the TCA will not be reopened. And so nobody, also in the financial markets, should count on euro clearing staying in London in the long run. Nevertheless, if you want to know more, the next video is right here in the end screen. I'll see you there. I'll be back.